What we're going to talk about today for the Wednesday class is we're going to talk about guard and chamber. A lot of it, I'm going to show you the different types of guard, and then I'm going to show you what a chamber is, talk about the differences, when we use them, when we don't use them, things like that. So the first thing is our guard. Now, there's different types of guard. I've seen people fight with like one hand down, one hand up. I've seen people fight with their hands up. I've seen them switch it around. It just kind of eventually turns into what you're comfortable with. But at the very beginning, the way we do our guard is one hand by your cheek, the other hand out just slightly. The reason why that other hand is out just slightly is so you can throw quick front hand punches such as jabs, back knuckles, bottom fists, etc. So if I'm here and I've got this hand protecting my cheek, I've got my chin tucked, everything is protected. So if I can punch with that side and bring it back to the guard, I'm still protected on this side. I don't always want to just walk around with two hands here because it's too tight, not loose enough, I can't move fast. So my guard, if I'm here, I've got my fighting stance, one hand by my cheek, one hand slightly out. That's usually how I start my students, just like this. And of course you could do the other way around as well. Generally speaking, whichever leg is in front, that's the hand that's going to be in front as well. So if this leg's in front, that hand's in front. So I got my guard, switch feet, guard, switch feet, guard. So that's one guard. The second guard is a defensive guard. Now with a defensive guard, it's more of a Krav Maga or a self-defense situation. Same idea, I have my hands up and out. So it looks like I'm saying, hey, I don't want to fight right now. But really, I'm able to throw punches, I'm able to do palm heel strikes, I'm able to do eye gouge strikes, all from this position without really putting on the red flags to my opponent. So here, and it also looks good if it's a security camera situation or if there's bystanders and someone comes up to me trying to attack me. If I immediately jump into my fighting stance, it makes me appear as the aggressor, even if I'm not. But if I have my hands up like this, it makes me appear more like I'm trying to defend myself, which ultimately is all we're really trying to do. So I have my defensive guard. Same idea, one hand's usually a little bit further back, the other hand's further forward, but my hands are open. So I've got my regular fighting guard, I've got my defensive guard. And those are really the only two guards you need to worry about. Then the next thing is our chamber hand. Sometimes you'll see styles where they have one hand to guard, one hand in the chamber, and then they switch it before they do a technique or a kick or a step. That's fine. Generally with our style, we do have one hand out and one hand in the chamber, and we're working our punches. So chamber hand pulls back with each punch. All right, so for right now, let's worry about the chamber hand. What's it look like? What's it doing? Later, we're going to discuss the practical application of a chamber, but today, I just want you guys to know the how-tos of it. So I've got my chamber hand. The idea behind it is if it's too tight, my shoulder's up, I'm too tense, it's not good. I want to be relaxed, my shoulders need to be in line. The other thing, if my elbow is out, that's going to cause my punches to roll, and I don't want my punches to roll. So from the start, I want my chamber hand back so my elbow is directly behind my fist. I don't want my elbow out, I don't want my shoulder up. I need to be relaxed and linear, meaning my elbow is behind my fist. So if I have two hands, same idea. Most of the time I tell my students to have one hand out and this hand in the chamber, so that a way they can alternate with their punches. The other thing is if my chamber hand is too close to the belly, it's going to cause my punches to roll kind of in a funky upward direction. So my punch needs to be in line with my target. So my chamber hand needs to be in line with my target. And then the last thing is, I don't want it too high because it's going to cause my shoulder to raise. I don't want it too low. And again, the reason why is because if I do a punch from here too quickly, it's just going to kind of flop out. There's not going to be a lot of linear technique. My elbow needs to guide my punch going forward. And generally, right above the hip and between the ribs and the hip bone is kind of where I want it. Some people bring it up really high in line with the diaphragm, and that's fine too. You don't want it up in the armpit, you don't want it too low. Kind of that middle ground right there to where your arm feels relaxed is where you want your chamber hand. And then lastly, again, I'll repeat myself, elbow needs to guide the punch into whatever technique we're doing. Those are more for straight punches, but this pretty much can go into any technique you want. Now, why do we have chamber hands and why do we have guards? I'm going to tell you the basic answer first. We're going to get into more advanced answers later. But if you can do a punch from the chamber hand, you're learning these things called lines of power, getting from the point A to point B in the quickest time with the strongest, most effective power. If I have a bad chamber hand and I'm doing rolling punches and then I come up into my guard, well, I'm trained to do rolling punches. But if I have a good chamber and good straight punches from there, when I go into my guard, my punches are going to be straight every time. So in review, I've got my guard, I've got my defensive guard, and I've got my chamber hands. So that's the lesson for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'm going to try to post one a week except for on the weekends, so that way you guys can kind of keep your practice up, learn about the style, learn about the art, and then train hard, stay healthy, all that good stuff. See you guys in the next video.